All right, now I want to talk to you about different types of correlation that you will see in scatter plots. So there are 7 different kinds, and I'm going to show you them here. So if I've graphed all of my results from gathering data, I've got my independent on the bottom and my dependent variable as my y-axis. And if my results look like this, they're in a perfectly straight line heading up. That's called perfect positive because they're heading up in a positive direction and they're in a perfect straight line. So that's called perfect positive. Next up, if these were my results, yes, they're heading up in a straight line, so they're positive, but they're not in a perfectly straight line like over here, but they're close, they're grouped really close together. So they're clearly all heading up in a positive direction, so it's positive, and you call this grouping here, you call it strong. So this is strong positive correlation because they're all grouped really closely together, heading up in the same direction. Next up, we have weak positive. So here, if I drew some lines around my results, you can see they are all heading up in the one direction, but there is quite a big gap between some of the scores. So yeah, pretty chunky in there. So that's called weak positive. So yeah, it's still positive, but it's not as easy to, it's not as clear cut as say perfect positive, you know, where they're all directly in a perfect line. They are positive, yes, but the correlation isn't as strong. Here we have no correlation whatsoever. So these dots, they're all over the place. There's no, you can't, if I try to draw a line around them, that makes no sense. It's not heading up or down. They're all over the place. Okay, so it's not positive, it's not negative, it's no correlation. And on the other hand, here we have negative correlation. So this one here, it's headed downwards, but in a perfectly straight line. So that's called perfect negative. Because negative, it's heading downwards instead of up, and it's in a perfect straight line. Here, if I drew a line around these ones, 2 lines around these ones I should say, they're grouped really closely together and all headed in the same direction. They're not in a perfect straight line, but they're close together. So that's called strong negative. And then lastly, here we have, I drew a line around them, you can see they're going in the one direction, yes, they're all headed negative, but they're not grouped as closely together as the other ones, so it's called weak negative. So it's important when you're describing correlation that you don't just say positive or negative, you have to use an adjective in front of it to describe how closely related the scores are. Okay, so you have to say the word weak, or strong, or perfect. Okay, I haven't come across many of these perfect ones in real life. Most of the time, you're going to either find that they're strong, weak, or no correlation whatsoever. But it's important that you describe it as either strong, perfect, or weak, and then tell us what direction it's heading in. So if they're heading up, that means positive. If they're heading down, that means negative. So you need 2 words in there to describe what's happening, or 2 words being no correlation. Okay, so that's all we need to know for correlation.